Today we're just doing back to basics, new listing launch. This is definitely aimed at those of you who have not launched a listing yet. And again, anyone who is seasoned on here, please chime in with anything that you might want to add. But yeah, again, just really back to basics, like which platforms we're using, the required documents in a listing, ordering a sign, ordering photos, showing you where to add it into MLS, command submission, and then just a touch on marketing. What this is not is like doing a listing presentation. You guys will learn those skills in your productivity coaching. This is also not a deep dive into best practices as it relates to marketing a listing. The tech and marketing trainers, Kathleen Wooten and Lindsay Baranek, that they offer training on, Facebook, Instagram. We can show you examples, of course. But again, just not a deep dive into those kind of elements as it relates to launching a listing. This is, again, just basics on platforms that you're going to be using. So, okay, I've got a new listing. Now what? I want to point you guys to the new listing checklist. So I'm going to be referencing this website a lot. You guys have all been exposed to this website multiple times. This is definitely one that we want you to bookmark, the kwrealtymilwaukee.com, which of course, so again, bookmark this, kwrealtymke.com. So under the resources tab, we've got event resources, KW Tech marketing resources, new associate resources. And this is where you're going to find your listing and buyer checklists. So if you hover over this and click on it, we should have all three checklists here that are most commonly used. So we've got our new listing checklist, which I'll be focusing on today. Then we also have the checklist for when your listing gets an accepted offer, which we can offer kind of going through this in another contract training. And then most recently, Joan and I went over the buyer accepted offer checklist, I think a couple weeks ago, and just really broke this down and what you should be doing when you have an accepted offer on a co-broke, or when you have an accepted offer with a buyer on a co-broke listing. Again, we're going to be focusing on the new listing checklist today, though. The tech platforms used in a new listing launch, again, zip forms, where you're going to prepare your documents. MLS, of course, we're going to be adding all of the information into MLS. Showing time, which we will be converting to a different showing platform by the end of the year. I will still show showing time at this time, though. Command, of course. This is where we're going to be loading all of our executed documents into Command for Kimmy's review. And again, Kimmy is like the third part of the Joan, Conard, Joan and Steph and Kimmy trio of the compliance team. She's in the background reviewing all of your documents and making sure that, signatures are in the proper spot, sellers have executed properly, required documents that we need for insurance purposes, etc. Gmail, of course, Google Calendars, your Google Drive, and then Canva, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. for marketing. All right, document prep in zip forms. So, first things first is, when you have a listing opportunity, you're of course going to have your listing presentation, and you'll use that on your, listing appointment. But then this training is revolved around, okay, now we've got the listing, now what do we do? So some agents will bring a packet of their listing documents with them to their listing presentations. I always bring a blank copy of the forms that they're going to be signing. And then throughout throughout the listing appointment, we'll determine, I'll have you wet sign these things here, or we can take all of this information, determine how we're going to fill out these forms, and then I'll take it back for having them e-sign the information. So it's really a conversation between you and the seller, what's preferable to you. I would say it's 50-50 for me, what I'm doing as far as e-signing or having them wet sign it. Oftentimes a best practice, I'll bring my laptop right to the listing appointment and I'll start filling out, okay, we've landed on price now, so I'll fill that in. I'll have stuff pre-filled out. And I will just send it to them right there via email to sign it later on. Again, it's just kind of personal preference, and you'll work all of those kind of things out as you start practicing on what is your preference. So the documents needed are the listing contract, of course, the real estate condition report, the addendum S, our KW disclosure, which is different from the WRA disclosure. I want to make that distinction. The affiliated business disclosure, and I'll show you that. The home warranty application or waiver. And then needed at the time of the offer is the focus title authorization forms and the focus title buyer seller form, which I'll also show you. So going into zip forms, to create a new listing, same concepts always. You're going to start at transactions. You're going to go to new. You're going to go to new listing. I always name mine by the street address. You're going to pick the category, residential or condominium. Then you're going to apply a template. So you're going to use the global residential listing packet. And then this will apply the most commonly used forms in a listing. So hit save. Then this will bring you right into the transaction folder. So right now we're on a summary page. We're going to go to documents. And we've got our residential listing contract. We have our real estate condition report, the addendum S, the affiliated business disclosure, the KW disclosure, and the home warranty. We also have other forms in here that you might use for your transaction. So we've got a authorization to exclude the listing, which you would need if you were going to have an MLS excluded listing. And then we also have the seller's authorization to delay. If you are going to be entering this as a delayed listing in MLS, you would use this form in conjunction with the listing contract. I also have made a packet of a PDF of a packet of a listing contract and associated documents. So if you want, and it's just taking a while, for those of you who like to bring hard copies, you could just download this whole thing and print it and bring it with you. So I've got the listing contract, record, addendum S, the home warranty application. I think I need to remake the, oh, this is for Lake Country. The Capital Partners disclosure, so that's that KW disclosure. And then delayed form, excluded form. Then the focus title authorization form. So the title company needs this in order to order payoffs and do their searches on the property. So I've included that as well. Actually, I need to remake this. I'm going to delete it now and re-add it later. Again, you'll fill these out ahead of time in here. Set it up for seller signatures, or again, bring the hard copies with you to the listing appointment. Are there any questions on this so far? Okay. I also want to say I'm going to stop there. This also is not just a zip forms, how to get things signed training. We do offer those now. I'm going to put a plug in for this every first Wednesday and third Wednesday of the month. We're going to just do a how-to on zip forms, getting things signed, command submission, and commissions. So look for that every first Wednesday and third Wednesday of the month. Okay. So now that we've got all of that signed, go back to our new listing checklist. Move this around. So we've got adding our seller's information to our contacts and starting a new listing opportunity in Command. So now we've got all of these executed documents and they should be ready for Command submission, or we're about 95% of the way there. Saving pictures from the photographer, adding a listing into MLS. I'll show you where to do that. Ordering the sign, putting up a new listing sign, emailing the sellers a link once you have it loaded into MLS, setting up showing time in MLS, and scheduling the open house in MLS. So all of these things, it's not like do this first. A lot of these things are happening at the same time, and happening within this like first 48-hour period. So ordering photos, excuse me. I would say there are a lot of different photographers out there that agents are using. A good resource to start with is our KW partners. And again, we're going to go back to that resources page, the kwrealtymke.com. And if you go to partners, this is all of our vendor partners. So we've got transaction coordination highlighted here, focus title, camo crew. A lot of these partners should sound familiar to you as they sponsor a lot for our office. But Rock Rose Productions, for example, they do residential real estate photography. Depending on who you want to use, I mean, some agents will take MLS photos with their camera or like their own camera. They'll take their own photography. I'll say best practice would be to hire this out and get a professional photographer for your listings. Professional photography is everything in this. When it comes to marketing your properties, you want to show, and it's our job to show this property in the best light possible for our sellers. So I would hire a professional always.
Seriously, really?
I'm gonna mute all of you. Okay. Ordering a sign. So this is, you should be connected with the sign companies that you're going to be using when you sign on with Lindsay. That's part of her process on onboarding our new licensees. So Amplify Graphics and Branding is who I use, for example, to order a sign. And you should already have your signs designed up. Again, I think all of this is happening when you first sign on. You're getting your signs created. Amplify is receiving the graphics, making signs for you, and then you will order the sign via their website, and you will be introduced to Amplify via Lindsay and connected to Brad on how to order a sign. Any questions about this so far? Okay. Adding a listing in MLS. This is the nuts and bolts of it all. So we're going to go to MLS. I'm going to show you guys a template that you can use. So from the Metro MLS homepage, we've got our forms. Maybe, here we go. And we've got profile sheets. So as part of your, again, your listing appointment, you're going to be going through the home, and part of your, again, this could happen at the listing presentation, all of this kind of, data collection period when you are launching a listing can happen, at the same time as your listing presentation. Some agents will, they'll get their listing contract signed, will get, they'll talk about at that listing appointment, when they intend to launch the listing. And then depending on when that is, they can come back and do a second appointment and actually do the photos, get the data for the MLS input. So I kind of just want to speak to how that all works as well, just because, some people are confused on when, these things are actually happening. And again, it's all kind of reading how your client is. Sometimes if you have a closer relationship with your seller client, you can, work all of these things in at the same time, the listing presentation / signing of the documents / getting information about the home, all at the same time. And sometimes you are gathering half of the information at first, and then coming back and getting the second half of it. So meaning, oftentimes it's my process to, at the listing appointment, I'll go through room by room. I'll start taking notes on how I feel it should be staged, and start giving tips on what the seller can do in order to get their home ready. And then at that appointment, I'm also determining, and this is where I'll go to the single family profile sheet. This is the template that you can use to start gathering data about the house. But within these fields, during that listing appointment, I'm determining the heating type. I'm determining whether it's a furnace, boiler, if it's forced air, radiant heat, for example. When I'm going around the property, I'm determining whether it's brick, stone, wood, the style of the home, 1 story, 1.5 story. So again, use this as a guide when you are collecting information on the house. So you can actually just take this right to your listing appointment and circle as you are going through. But then, sometimes, because it's, again, just speaking to like practicality of these things, I will come back and I will measure rooms most oftentimes when I am there attending for the photo appointment. So when pics are happening, that's generally when I am gathering the room dimensions. So again, you're kind of just going to adjust based off of where you are with getting this information and where your relationship with the client. But a lot of times you can get 80% of this information right there at the listing appointment, and then come back and gather more information like room dimensions. So then once this is filled out, you'll use this to go ahead and input this into MLS. So now we will go to the MLS itself. Maybe. Here we go. And from here, you will add the listing. So from the menu, the main menu up here in the left-hand side corner, Under the add change menu, we've got add, and it'll bring you right to adding a listing. So from that profile sheet that I showed you, all of these fields mimic what is on the profile sheet. So we've got general, we've got 2-family vacant land. You'll pick the type of the property type. You'll put your name in. It actually might default it to you under your account. And then you'll just go through. I'm not going to go through this. I just want to show you guys the fields. But we've got address fields, main fields. Anything in red is required. I do want to point out the listing date and the expiration date. These dates need to match what's on your listing contract or you will get fined. Named prospects, this is another area where you get fined. So if there are excluded buyers as a part of this listing, you're going to mark yes. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be no, but this is another area where you get fined if you've got information in there wrong. Yeah, so as you move through it, you'll just add the information. One thing I would want to point out to everybody is that you have the ability to save an incomplete listing. This is really helpful. Again, oftentimes I'll start adding in a listing before I'm hitting it live. I'm not doing it all at once. I'm just gathering the information, inputting information. I'll start to get in the text, write the description. And then once I get the photos, then I'll come back to my incomplete listing card and I'll add the photos here. Adding photos, once you get your photos back from the photographer, I think a good practice is what I have found to be most efficient. I'll add photos directly from the zip file that I receive. And then instead of picking them out from that zip file, I will load them all in here when it's in incomplete status so no one sees what I'm doing. And then I'll take away photos that I don't like. And then right from there too, you can add the description as well. Let me see if I can show an example. Actually, I'll just go to so here are the photos. So you can see how they pull in from your saved desktop. And from here, you can edit how you want them to be described. You can change the order here as well. Flagging will mark which one you want to be as the main photo. So all of that is to say, I'm not going to go through this more in depth, but I'm going to point you now to the YouTube video. I'll throw this in the chat. And this is actually how to upload and edit a new listing in MLS. This is an MLS produced video. So it's straight from the horse's mouth. And then with that, I will also show you the video library. So from that main MLS.com, if you go to learning, go to video library, all of these videos are here as well. So adding a listing in Flex MLS. So this is what I just pointed you guys to. So a lot of this is just showing you guys where to find this information. Okay, so once you have this added into MLS, get back to our new listing checklist. Maybe. You are going to email a copy of the listing to your seller. So that really is just simple as once it's in, you'll get assigned an MLS number. You're going to select the property. You're going to go to print. You're going to go to private version. Sorry, I'm trying to move this Zoom window around. Thank you for your patience. I'm so sorry. This is not moving for me. Well, you can create a PDF. There we go. Gosh. Okay, hang on. All right. So this is really just as simple as creating a PDF of the data sheet and emailing this to your sellers and stating, please review and let me know if you have any questions or if there's any edits that you need to make. Attaching it right to the email, sending it off. Told you guys it was back to basics. So sorry for the mundane details, but a lot of this again is just these like how-tos. Any questions so far? Okay. And then setting up showing time. So back to editing your listing. Once you input the showing in, or sorry, once you put the listing into MLS, you'll be given the ability to set up the showing time. Edit listing. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. So enable, disable showing time. So once you hit this, this will bring you to where you can set up the showing time information. So from here, your name will already be crash printed in there, but then you can edit and add, adding a new owner. I'll say I'm a tenant, so I'm not the owner, but I'm an occupant. Let's say we need to add tenant information. Then I'm gonna ask How do I want to receive information? It'll be text or email. Appointment type up here is where you can pick what kind of instructions they want. So we can, if it's vacant, you can do a go and show. If the property is occupied, you can put appointment required, confirm with any. What that means is that it'll confirm with any of the occupants named below. The seller / occupant will receive a text message that they can hit yes or no, depending on the time of the showing. From here too, you will determine how the agent can access the home. So whether it's a Sentry lock, whether it's a combination lock you're using. I would say we should be using our Sentry locks though, of course, which again, as new agents, you will receive that information from the GMAR directly. But yes, and I'm showing this to you knowing, as I have stated before, that we will be switching to a different platform very soon. And there will be trainings on that as well. But it's more to show you that this is part of your listing launch process, that we need to make sure that we are adding in this information. Scheduling an open house. So you'll do that from the editing menu on your MLS listing. So here's scheduled marketing activities, open house. From here, you can add open house. You'll select the date. You are not able to, I'm not going to add the open house, but once you're finished, you're going to hit add open house. You are not able to determine or like select who is doing the open house. But let's say you have 2 people covering a 4-hour window of an open house, you would just add you know, the total of the open house time. So if it's a 12 to 4, you in MLS are going to add 12 to 4 and then, you know, just work it up amongst the other agents who are hosting it, you know, who's doing which time slot. But this is for purposes of data syndication out to you know, realtor.com, Zillow.com, where consumers are searching for open houses. They just want to see what the total time is. They don't have any interest in who's hosting it. So that's what that information is for.
Steph, in chat, Brendan wants to know how you can edit showing times.
Edit showing times? How do you edit times available to show? Oh, yes. So you can go to, where is it here? Restrictions and exceptions. So you can add a new showing rule. And you can say, yeah, there's various different reasons, but you always have to put in a rule reason. So the rule reasoning, let me go to, actually, I'm going to go to a different listing I had where I had to input many different showing exceptions. Yeah, you can see here, so this was a showing restriction. So it was showings between 11 and 4 p.m. only. And so I restricted showings from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. because I was trying to leave an open window of 11 to 4 p.m. And I had to do that for each day that I wanted it to reflect. So it was, in this case, a Sunday and a Saturday. So you'll put that in, put the time, if it's a repeating rule, if it's just a 1-day rule, and you'll hit save showing rule. This one, I had to restrict showings for in the entirety of a Monday and a Tuesday. So again, I had to block out all Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And that was an all-day rule, and it repeated. So that's where you do it. I think just depending on your need, it's different on what you're going to input. If you have further questions about that, I would say get in touch with me. Or if you call showing time and just let them know what your need is, they can add it for you as well. Does that help?
Yeah, he said it did. Thank you.
Okay, so now I just want to touch on kind of best practices with timing. And again, every agent is going to be doing this different. But when you're at the listing appointment and kind of coordinating all of this with your sellers, I always start with a go live date that we are working off of, which can be adjusted, at any time, depending on whether or not the home is ready. But like in this example, I put Main Street live in MLS. So I know that I want showings to begin Friday, October 6th. So from there, work backwards with your listing launch. So I know that I need to make sure that it's in MLS by the evening of Thursday. If I want it to get into and show live in MLS by the 6th. You can also do it first thing Friday the 6th as well. But I know by the 4th, I want to start entering this into MLS. I know that I want to make sure that I've got the pictures done, or the photography happening by the 4th, because it's usually a 24-hour turnaround time, so that I can get those pictures back and load them into MLS by the 5th, so that when I hit it live and I hit that final add listing button, I've got all of the information that I want in MLS already. And this is more, again, just like a personal opinion. And I think in general agreement, I think that most agents would agree that there's nothing worse than seeing a new listing come through and there's no pictures. And, in order to work in the best possible way for our sellers, we want to make sure that those pictures are in MLS by the time it gets syndicated. And syndication means out to Zillow.com, out to Realtor.com. It also means that anybody set up on a buyer's search is going to be receiving the MLS data, and you want to make sure that your pictures are in there so that buyers can see them right away. A lot of time people will just skip over them, or forget to go back and look at the data later on. It's just showing these listings in the best possible light right off of the bat. So make sure you have those pictures loaded into MLS before you are hitting that add listing button. Ordering the Main Street sign. So we want to make sure that we're timing it right, that the sign gets in by the time showings begin, or by the time it's in MLS. So again, it's about I think it's a 48-hour turnaround time. So maybe I would actually want to move, maybe I would actually want to make sure I'm ordering the sign on the 4th. But this is just to show you just kind of how to time all of this out, so that you're not, getting in an MLS and then scrambling to get pictures in, or scrambling to get the photo or the sign into the ground. You know, you kind of want to time it so it's all happening on the same day. I put over here Main Street photo ready. So, you know, in my conversations with my sellers, then too, I'm saying to them, I'm communicating, okay, if our go live date is February or October 6th, let's make sure that we've got everything good to go in the house, photo ready by the 2nd, so that I am free to order pictures anytime the 3rd, 4th, or 5th. You know, and again, these can be closer to one another. You know, sometimes as we know, sellers are still working on the house, and we as listing agents are still working on the house the morning of pictures. You know, it happens all of the time. So again, these are just kind of target dates, and you know, let's make sure we're getting this 99% ready to go by the time we've got pictures on the 4th. And again, I'm always communicating to our sellers too, we've got this target date, but it's going to be adjusted always. So, you know, we've got our listing contract signed with an MLS with a listing start date of at least the 4th. We can amend the contract for a later time if we need to, if we're not ready. So just know that all of this is amendable and you can change it.
Yeah, Steph, Derek wants to know, how much time do you allow for the seller to prepare the house for photos?
That's all, that's different based on the house's needs. So, you know, sometimes you're going on a listing appointment and they'll, you know, you've got a meticulous seller who, you know, you don't have to do much in order for the house to get ready for sale. You know, sometimes you're walking into situations where, you know, it's maybe a hoarding situation, or, you know, like we still have these repairs that we want to make. So it's all, you know, conversations, you know, and part of the services that you're offering might be to coordinate handyman services if needed, coordinating painting if needed. You know, some agents, as part of their services is, you know, their own staging and in-house staging. You know, a lot of our bigger agents have their own pieces that they'll bring in. Some just contract with different stagers. So it really is like a needs basis analysis that you're going to be having at the listing appointment. Again, you don't know what you're walking into. So it could change, you know, based off of seller's needs and condition of the home. But oftentimes, you know, a conversation you're going to be having with a seller is, when do you need this to sell? I mean, sometimes there's a situation where a seller needs to sell by a certain time, and, you know, so then they're going to have to hustle, right? Or we're going to, you know, it's a team effort. So we're hustling with them to get it done.
Yeah, it's also another reason for delayed listing. I mean,
yeah.
You have everything in place, but you have at least up to 21 days to get this picture ready, photos set, so that you're on this inner time frame with the seller.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can, you know, let them know that we've got this 21 days to get this done. Sometimes you're walking into the situation and you know you're going to need more than 21 days. So again, it's all just kind of a needs analysis at the time that you're at those listing appointments. I also wanted to just, you know, again, showing best practices and, you know, using Google Drive or, you know, folders on your desktop, but just make sure you've got your own hub for storing this information. So, you know, as part of this listing launch, you know, you're going to have your listing paperwork. I put all of the photos that I receive into a folder in one spot. So Parkview staging notes, listing staging notes. So these are notes that I'm taking while I'm at the listing appointment. And then I'm coming back and transferring them, either literally just uploading my scribbled handwriting or creating a spreadsheet to kind of just go room by room, like what do we want to do? You know, when determining price, I'll always make sure that I've got the CMA loaded. All of this is just, again, a central hub to have all of your information as it relates to this one particular listing. Have this information on hand, readily and available. Sometimes you'll have to like reshare a CMA if, maybe there's a difference in opinions on price, and kind of reminding sellers, okay, this is what the CMA told us, link to the comps for the CMA. So, I'll have a separate link for, you're doing an MLS search, and you can actually like email yourself the all of the listings that you have used for the CMA. The listing launch plan. Again, this is more, again, just to show you, however you determine what you're going to use, how you're going to use it, when getting ready for a listing. Just make sure you have it all in the same spot. That's really my communication here. Just keep yourself organized. It saves you so much time. Part of the marketing, you might want to include a list of improvements. As part of the prep for the CMA, the first thing I'm always doing is getting the tax records. So, some of these things are being filled in earlier than later. The CMA and the Parkview tax records, I had these in first thing, right? When I learned that this was a potential listing for me. So that's just wanting to share. I am a big proponent of using the Google Drive because and I've mentioned this in other trainings, our Keller Williams email is Google based. So let's use the products already available to us. So back to the checklist. So we've got our paperwork, we've got our information into MLS, we've got our photos, we've got our sign up. Now, and this is usually when I'm doing this, so I'm usually putting it into Command right after it's already loaded into MLS. And we are going right to our contacts. It's going to be in here. Actually, I don't think I've ever used Joan. As an example, so we'll change that now. So as you guys know, when you have accepted offers, or whenever you need to create an opportunity, we always have to add that contact first. So Joan Reed is my seller in this case. And bare bones in here. I guess I do have Joan in here already. Okay. Oh. There she is. Okay. So from her contact card, on the left-hand side, you've got the information of your contact. Then on the right-hand side, we've got actionable items associated with the contact. So this is where you're going to create your opportunity for command submission. Create opportunity, market center. I'm Lake Country. Opportunity type is listing. I'm the owner. It will default to you. Client, Joan Reed. Opportunity name. I always add in the address. Backslash. Again, you'll do it however you want to do it. But I'll do backslash client last name. And then I'll actually change this to say seller. Name it however you want. But that's how I have come to name my opportunities. Estimated close date, you're not going to have this. Let's say our listing date was October 6th. I'm just going to put in an estimated close date of November 3rd. commission rate. So this is a required field. Let's say your listing, you took a listing at 6%, which we're all striving to do. Then what we are taking home as listing agents is that 3.6%. Because remember, we're co-broking and offering a 2.4% compensation for anybody who brings the buyer. Opportunity phase, we're going to take this out of cultivate and put it into active. And we'll just say we're in showing status right now. Okay, so from here, you're going to get a clickable link will be created. We'll go to documents, pick checklist type. We've got a residential. This is not a condo. And from here, you've got your listed folder and your under contract folder. At this point, I'm not loading anything into the under contract folder because I don't have an accepted offer yet. I'm just loading in the listed documents. And the reason why I wait until we're in MLS before I submit this to Kimmy is because we need to have that MLS data sheet and she wants the private version. So if you recall, I already created a PDF of the data sheet to share with my seller. I'm going to take that same one and load it in here for Kimmy. Then I'm going to drag and drop my listing contract. I'm going to drag and drop my condition report, addendum S, etc. Then once you load the contracts, then the ability to submit to MC, which means submit to Market Center, will be available to you. So once I've got everything loaded, I'm going to hit submit to MC. And then from there, Kimmy takes it and reviews it. And if you have any corrections that need to be made, then she'll communicate with you through command. And again, you've got 7 days from your listing date to get that into Kimmy. Here's just a screenshot. And then once she approves it, you'll see it in green approved here, or it'll be in red, it'll say returned. Marketing materials. Okay, so from here again, now we've got it in MLS, it's syndicated out to our buyers, syndicated out to Zillow, Realtor.com. As part of your launch plan, it might be to, and of course, get it onto social media. Again, not going to go into a deep dive on best practices as it relates to social media. But, you know, you're going to load it onto Instagram. You know, if you have questions about what to say, how to look, how it's structured, you know, a lot of times people are just looking at other examples from other agents. You know, start following those bigger teams and see how they do it, right? Attend trainings that Kathleen and Lindsay are putting on. Back to timing of these, as soon as I'm hitting live in MLS, or even prior to that, when I'm loading photos, another thing that I'm doing is picking out 5 photos that I think look the best, that I'll separate out and email them to myself, and I'll put right in there, you know, for Instagram, so that later on when it's live and I know I'm free to start marketing it, I'll grab those photos and post them on Instagram, along with, you know, my spiel about it. LinkedIn, I wish I were better at using LinkedIn. We've got some agents who I think are really good at using LinkedIn. I think Bridget is really good. I think you're on here. You know, again, point being, these are the platforms in which you'll use to help get the word out to your sphere. Canva, I wanted to show you that too. Actually, before that, the KW Marketing Concierge. So using these, you know, you've got your digital marketing with, you know, social media, but then you've got print marketing that you might want to also utilize. So the KW Marketing Concierge, I'm going to go back to our KW Realty Milwaukee website, And from the main menu at the top, we've got KW Marketing Concierge. And from here, you can have assistance in creating marketing assets. And, we've got people behind the scenes who are helping to create this. So if you want a listing flyer, you're just gonna choose it right from here and enter in what you want, enter in your information. I just have to say that it's just really awesome that we have this available to us as Keller Williams agents. So, use these resources. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you're going to walk through the steps, and I imagine we'll get to an MLS number field that we'll need. But yeah, it's fantastic that we have these available to us. Some agents like to do it on their own. I'm going to show you guys canva.com. Canva.com is what I use. I'll show you. So we've got a cover page. So I'll create a cover page, like I'll make little booklets, which includes a cover page, the data sheet, the real estate condition report, the seller improvement sheet. I just use the free version of Canva. You see up here, there's Canva Pro, and for $10 a month, I think you can have more capabilities with it. This is not a Canva training. Again, I just want to show you that these are available to you to use for your listings. So next up, you're going to accept an offer. And that's a whole nother training. The stop share. Any questions?
Nice job.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be loaded onto our website, our YouTube channel. So you guys can go back and rewatch this. But yeah, just like the basics of getting it out there. So next week, Joan, what are we doing?
Defects. We're gonna dive into defects. Yeah.
Okay, definitely hit that one up, you guys. Our favorite topic.
Right.
All right, thanks for coming. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.